are on Women Dialogues, and I'm your host Shashi with you all to create more voice for women and by women. And today's our guest from UK and Qatar, Shaheen. She is the founder and head of the production, the company called Media Queen TV. And as you can hear, the name itself is bring your queen feeling. So let's hear from our today's speaker, Shaheen, what made her to think about this name, what exactly the work of her company, and what exactly the experience and learning and sharing she has for us to inspire, to learn, to motivate. So let's welcome Shaheen on our Women Dialogues platform. So welcome Shaheen on Women Dialogues talk show.
Thank you, Dr. Sashi. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Thank you, Shaheen, for taking out your time to join us for our mission and purpose to create more voice for women and by women, as we say always. So let's start by hearing about your life story, your success journey, as you have almost more than 20 years of experience working in TV industry and media industry. So bringing those experiences, before we bring those experiences, let's start your childhood journey. You must be having a lot of memories or a lot of ups and downs or challenges to share with us, or those experiences might help you to shape up the way you are today or career as a successful woman. So please share with us.
Definitely. I mean, I was a child of the 70s. I won't let you work out how old I am, but, you know, I was a child of the 70s. So I was born and brought up in the UK. And when I was a little girl, my mum said I used to always go to the television and go and point to the TV and say I wanted to be inside the television. And so from a really early age, I was really, you know, interested and excited about, you know, the moving screen and how it worked. You know, for me, I was really interested in how it worked. So when I progressed through school, I remember going to my careers meeting, and they said to me, you know, what would you like to do, Shaheen? And I said, oh, I want to work in television. And I remember quite poignantly that the teacher saying to me, I think you need to consider a different career. You know, it's really hard to break into television. And I remember sitting there thinking, there's nothing I really want to do other than work in television. So I remember sitting around to her and saying, but somebody's got to do it. Why can't it be me? And from that point, I tailored everything to work in television. So if you see my CV, it's all media orientated. So my A levels were media orientated. My university degree was, you know, media orientated. And then I was very lucky, and I had very supportive parents who allowed me to do work experience for a year. So I worked free for a big newspaper in the UK called the Daily Mirror, which I don't think no longer exists, but and there was a small TV channel called Live TV starting up upstairs in Canary Wharf. And I remember going up, and they offered me a 3-month contract, and I did 4 years at Live TV. And then from there, I went on to do a lot of freelancing. I worked for Fremantle, which is one of the big production companies in the UK. And, you know, moved around for quite a long time until I had my own family. And then we became expats. So I kind of took a bit of a step back from TV for a little while to concentrate on bringing up my young family. And then when we came, I was very lucky in some ways, because I actually was my colleagues in the UK allowed me to work remotely before remote working happened. So I would do a lot of paperwork and a lot of admin work, you know, via working remotely. So, you know, this working from home I've done for a very long time. But now my daughter is of school age, and she's a lot more self-sufficient, so we say. When I came to Qatar, I decided it was time to kind of go back into the working arena on a personable basis, you know, but I was worried that I'd been out of TV for 8 or 9 years, you know, away from the moving technology and everything else. So I started looking at doing online courses. Again, another thing that has come out of the pandemic, but it's something that I did before. So I did a couple of courses, and through that, one of the courses was a social media course. And I wanted to learn about social media and how it impacted on the media. And through that, we had to create a company, a brand for ourselves. And that's how Media Queen grew. Part of that core brand. And then I created my work company ethos. And then started building on my client base, which is where I am now.
Wonderful. And that seems like a lot of experiences, a lot of diverse background you have deal with while working with a lot of companies as well. So while bringing your experience, your growing up passion, like you always, as you shared, you was always fond of that screen, as you mentioned in your childhood journey. So Shaheen, when we are talking about women in media, right? And it, as you mentioned very pointedly in early when you was deciding your career, and your teachers and even they pointed out, did you find some challenges, or maybe some other kind of incidents or something in media as well, as being a woman?
Definitely. Yes, definitely. I mean, when I first started in television, I started that in the other side of what I do. So now I'm a production manager, so I literally look after the team. That's how you divide it. But I worked in the creative side, which I found quite quickly it wasn't my forte. I wasn't skilled at it. I didn't enjoy it. But media, and especially television, tends to be a very male-dominated arena.
Right.
And more recently, I've moved to sports TV, and that is even more male-orientated.
Yeah.
So it is very hard. It's very hard to kind of break in. And, you know, at the time, you're kind of pigeonholed into sort of motherly roles. You know, production management is a motherly role. It's you look after the team. So, you know, you make sure your shoots are on time, your teams are looked after, you know, the crews are fed. So it seemed more like you know, most predominantly females are production managers and producers are male. So yes, I would agree. There's still a lot of diversity and a lot of segregation in television. I'm hoping it will get better. It is very hard to make your way in there.
Yeah, yeah, as you said, this is so true. But when we are talking about in current scenario, when we are having all this global pandemic and all, do you find any in any sort of way the media, as we are hearing and we are experiencing many other field, they identify women contribution, women importance, and how they are better, leader, how they are better managers, or all those in many other ways. Do you find in media as well they are recognizing or finding some ways that women are better?
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, you know, I've moved more into sports television now. And one of the things that I got spoken to is next year, not next year, the year after, 2023, there's the FIFA's Women's World Cup. And what they want to do with that, FIFA, as well as TV, they want to move towards a more predominant female team.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, they're kind of trying to fit. So, you know, if they've got a CEO who's female, they're trying to really push for 2023 that there's a more predominant, you know, representation of women. You know, definitely, I agree. But it's still a slow progress because we still have a lot of the old school that are still in charge of television, and it's still an old gentleman's handshake. And, you know, changes, it will happen, but I still think it will be slow.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's so true. But when we are talking about it, these all events or your work, would you like to share more about your work to our audience? What exactly it takes and how it make it happen when you are talking about your work, when we are talking about in sports media? So how, as a woman, your role is there? What kind of expectation you have from other side? Of not particularly as a sports, but as a maybe other genders or team or what whoever.
Well, one of the best examples to explain to you is I recently worked on the FIFA Club World Cup, which was earlier this year in February. So it was the delayed one from last year. And due to the pandemic, obviously, a lot of the team couldn't fly in. So I ended up doing a lot more jobs than I should. But strangely enough, I was one of out of a big team that were here, I was one of 3 females. So, you know, there's always that role of looking after the team, which is fine. You know, it's almost nice to feel wanted sometimes in a different way. And it depends, you know, in a field, how you feel about it. But I didn't take it, you know, I didn't get upset that I needed to look after the team and make sure they had tea and coffee, even though that predominantly wasn't my role. You know, as a female, I still think it's quite hard, but I think the boys, I call them the boys, the men on the team, they were very welcoming to me, and did take me under their wing and looked after me, because it's still a new field for me to work in sports management. But as a woman, I didn't. One of the best things, we had one of the cleanest toilets, you know, because we only had 3 ladies using our ladies' loo. So yeah, I you know, it's a very strange feeling to be in a male environment. However, they didn't make me feel like that, and I feel very empowered because they looked after me, which I know some women wouldn't really like, because you want to be of equal gender, but they did kind of take me under their wing and look after me.
Wonderful, and that's beautiful to share that how you find out being feeling empowered, being the way you are feeling that yes, it was right way to get treated. So when we are talking about it, your work is now currently in Qatar, and you are working, as you mentioned, you work with FIFA World Cup Qatar 2022. Uh, in what way, when you are talking about it, this media, your TV and all the kind of work, seeing in future, we all are aware that it's going to, FIFA World Cup is going to happen in 2022 in Qatar. So what role and what kind of work you are expecting or looking like, yes, it should be shared by women equally?
So at the moment, just to give you a quick background, I'm working on a monthly magazine show, which is for FIFA
Right.
Television,
Mm-hmm.
which is on the talent channel, and it's all about showing Qatar to the world. You know,
Okay.
not
Mm-hmm.
the coming audiences don't know a lot about Qatar, and our show isn't predominantly just about football. So we're very excited about showing women in Qatar. Actually, we've got a women goalkeeper. We've got you know, the woman who runs the National Museum. She's a woman curator. So the show is actually, you know, when I look at it, it's very much about looking at Qatari women, empowering women, and how actually there's a lot of women who do run this country,
Yeah.
and that's part of our show, like culturally.
Yeah.
Future roles for me, you know, I'll be working on the TV production side, so I'll be working on the host broadcasters when the event eventually happens. But for now, we're making this little monthly magazine show about Qatar, so everybody can learn about Qatar before they come. But yes, to resonate your point, we are concentrating and including a lot of women, which is really nice for me, you know, and to show that, you know, Qatar is very open and very welcoming to everybody, and, you know, provides a lot of opportunities for everybody who wants to take them.
Yeah, that's beautiful, and then that's very nice to share with people who are hearing and listening and watching us, to get to know about the country where you work, where we share our passion and our growth, and we develop ourselves. So moving ahead, Shaheen, you worked internationally, a lot of places, as you shared earlier. What major difference, because as here we are talking about a particular this country, what are the things you learned in being in different places, being in different culture, especially concentrating in media?
Patience. I've learned to be more patient. You know, it's very different, the working cultures of each country, as I'm sure you appreciate as well.
Yeah.
You know, in England, you know, I've had to learn in Qatar that if I want something, I have to send 4 emails before I get a reply, and now that's just standard. And just to give you a funny anecdote, is my series producer has just come on board in January, and I've been here for 4 years. And, and I'm trying to explain to him things take a little while to kind of happen in Qatar, but they will happen, and it's trying to learn that patience.
Yeah.
Whereas in London, I send an email before I've even pressed send, I have a reply back. So it's learning, it's just learning diversity in each country's culture. And, I think I'm not a very patient person. As my husband would say, I'm not a patient person, but I've learned patience. I really have learned patience. So, and working all the time has been great because I've made some amazing friends. I've, got friends from each country that will come with me for life. And I never set out to be an expat. I fell into expatting because my husband was offered a job and we decided to take it. At the time, it was a right time in my life because I was having a family, to take a break. But yes, I would recommend it to anyone who has the courage to wholeheartedly travel around the world and learn from each culture. And living in, when you go on holiday, you can't experience or learn or live in that culture. But when you live in it, you really take a piece of it with you away, I think, as well.
Yeah, that's so true. And I can correlate, I can recall my own experiences when you are talking and sharing about it. Bringing here, when you are talking about your family and all experiences as well, how you find a woman who is in media, who is in all this TV and all industry, having a family, what kind of situation comes arise, and what kind of do you feel it still is a struggle to manage it?
Yes.
Uh,
Yes, it was. And that was one of the reasons why I took a career break. And because I didn't want my daughter, and I didn't. So when I had my daughter, the problem is media is not a 9 to 5 job. It's a 24-hour. I'm always on my phone. I always have. It isn't, and you take that as part of the job. And because I love my job so much, I'm quite prepared to do it. But you're right. When I had my daughter, I made the decision to take some time out. So even though I was working remotely, it was on my terms, but then I couldn't do my job fully. And now she's older, I'm able to go back and commit to it because she is more self-sufficient. So it is still hard. It's still hard for women, I think, in media to progress in their career unless something has to give. So you either have to sacrifice your family or you sacrifice your career. So I obviously had to take a career break, and had I not, I probably would have been a lot further up my career chain than I would be now. But I'm quite happy with my life balance having taken that. But yes, you're right.
Yeah, I hear you shared about as this job. Maybe we are talking about in cultural, maybe delay in replying and all, but as in this industry, if we are talking about this TV, media, and all broadcasting industry, they are very spontaneous. You are supposed to be very active and fast. It's full time, but same time as you are talking about this family relationship and women role and sacrifices, uh, how you find or what way you can where we have, because we are talking a lot of things, oh we are women empowerment, equality and all, but why it is not coming in media when we are talking about as a job, who are doing the job as a women when they are anchor, when they are journalists, they either, as you shared so correctly and on to the point, that either you balance your career or your family, because it is full-time work. Why it's not there is a balance when we are talking about this profession? Because either it just suppose it should bring somewhere the male role, or the company or the TV or the broadcast or media, they should understand these things as well. What's your unlearning, what's your expectation, what's your understanding, how we can make it better?
I mean, there's a lot of research going on in the UK at the moment by Beck2, and they're trying to bring together a more unified working structure for male and female, same like gender equality that's going through the UK at the moment, culturally, to create diversity, but also gender equality, exactly what you're saying. So the male and female roles, fathers can take paternity leave, you know, and mother, you know, to make it a more uniformed. I think, like I said earlier on, the media is still very male orientated, and it will take a long time for the women's to, they're coming up now, you know, the commissioners at the BBC channels and the channels at home are coming up through the ranks, but it will take some time. And I think it's hard for male senior execs to empathize with what the females need unless they've been in that position, to be fair to them. However, you know, it is sad, and it is, you know, there is a lot of movements and change coming, but it's been a lot slower than a lot of other industries, because as you said so rightly, media is so fast moving that nobody hasn't really got, you just got to do your job, and you haven't really got time to think about, you know, this isn't right, this isn't right. You just got to try and fit with the mold. You know, it is a really sad that it hasn't happened so quickly, but I'm sure it will, because there's so many, like, you know, ITV now have a woman CEO, and they're all slowly coming through. And then I think Channel 4 have just introduced 3 more policies for women who sadly have child bereavement, and, you know, they can take time off. So there's a lot more empathy coming towards female employees, which is slow, but it is happening. So that's what it's sad for me that it didn't happen during my career span, but I'd like to, you know, contribute to that in some way, because like I said to you, you know, I want to go on and mentor those coming through, and, you know, hopefully the working structure will change and it'll be more flexible. And I think the hybrid working pattern that we've learned through COVID will empower people to do that. It will allow people, because at the moment I'm working from home and my daughter is online learning, so I can still be a mum and I'm still working. So I think that will help moving forward as well.
Yeah, that's so true. That if we can learn from our challenging time is a key, how we are growing and developing, rather than coming back on the same you know, shift or same kind of environment. So it's not going to help us. So moving ahead, when we are talking about it, your work experience, you have 20 years of work experience in this sector. What major takeaway, if may I ask you, you know, share with us what it would be?
I would say never stop learning. You know, you're never too old to learn. And I think that when I know I'm going on about COVID, but obviously it is a big part of our life right now. And I remember when COVID started, everybody was like, you know, we need to do all these online courses. But there's some truth again to be said in that. There's a lot of free courses that people can constantly learn. And especially in my industry, where technology is always changing what we have to work with. For example, like I explained earlier on, when I took some time out, I came back in social media. You know, when I left the UK, you know, it wasn't a big thing. And then social media became a really big thing, you know, YouTubers, YouTube channels, influencers. So I went and did a course to learn all about it, because I thought, you know, I need to understand it, not in depth. So for me, you know, I would say learning is a very empowering thing, because you can never have too much knowledge, and no one can. I remember my dad saying to me, no one can ever take your knowledge away from you. They can take your money, but if you have knowledge, you can make more money. And, you know, it's an old school saying, but he's right, I guess.
That's very inspiring, and I believe it's motivating for our audience and our listeners as well. So when we are talking about it, all your learning and all, how you define your leadership style?
I would like to be a very understanding, empathetic leader. I don't believe in, you know, dictatorship. We work as a team, and I've always worked as part of a production team. Even though I lead my team, I will always listen to what people have to say and take on board their comments, because I'm not right all the time. I like to think I am, but I'm not, you know. So it's, for me, it's all about being able to listen to people, and listen, not just listen, but actually really listen. And sometimes listening is hard, because you don't want to be criticized for your leadership challenge. But I believe we can, back to my learning, we can always learn a lesson from everybody who comes into our lives, and even if they're more junior or senior than you.
Yeah.
That's what I would say.
Yeah, yeah. And when we are talking about it, learning and all about your leadership style, do you have any experience or any inspiring story to share with us?
No, not really. I mean, over the years, I've led so many teams. There's always been funny stories, but actually, there is one I would say. So, in a production team, you've got production manager, then you've got coordinator, you've got secretary, and then you have runners. So you know those. And I would always come in and help my runners load the film trucks, and I would bring them tea and coffee, and they'd always be very mindful and very thankful that I would do that. And they'd say to me, you don't need to come in. And I goes, but we are a team. And I think it goes from the ground up. If you look after your team will look after you. And for me, you know, coming in at 5 o'clock and helping them load the truck shows that I am there for them as much as they're there for me. And I think that's an important thing. So, you know, people don't need to come in and load a truck at 5 o'clock in the morning, but as long as it's all very well to say that you're a team, but sometimes actions need to speak louder than words, I think, you know, just by doing those small things for your team.
Yeah, yeah, and that's so true. As even though we know it was not expected that you was thinking, okay, what I'm asking, but that way you bring your memory and you bring this share is very beautiful, very important to learn and to understand how the meaning to be even as a even you are head or even you are manager, how you have to be a good team leader. As you shared, action speaks louder than your words. So yes, I believe our audience will understand we all have to be feel as a team rather than having bossy attitude. When we are talking all about it, your work, your experiences, what advice or message would you like to give to our audience with your experience?
Never give up. You know, for me, like I said earlier on, my biggest thing went back when my tutor said to me, choose a different career. And when I took the career break, and I remember everyone saying to me, you know, it's really hard to get into sports. And I'm like, well, okay, yeah, I get it. But I'm very lucky in the fact that I'm in Qatar and we have got a major sporting event happening. And I'm very lucky in that I've got the experience. So that bit, yes. But for me, it was, I never gave up. So I wrote loads of letters and, you know, it was almost like starting again. You know, it was back to the beginning, trying to get the work
Right?
experience.
Yes, so
So
true.
I wrote loads of letters, and I was very lucky that a lady, a very nice lady called Jennifer Angel from ITN allowed me into her team to do the Doha Athletics. So again, a woman empowered me. And, you know, so that's what I would say. Just don't give up. You know, you can have there were so many no's. Oh no, you haven't got enough experience. Oh no, you got the wrong experience. But eventually somebody went, okay, we'll give her a go. And that's what I would say. I mean, ultimately it comes down is having the courage just to keep going, okay, that was a bad day. Tomorrow I'll do it again. If you really want it, you know, you have to, if you really aspire to do the one thing that you want to do. And I'm very lucky. I don't consider my job a job. I love what I do. You know, I would do it for free. Not that my husband would be too happy, but I would do my job for free. That's how much I love it. So that for me is the biggest take I would take. You know, do something that you love and never give up, I think.
That's beautiful. And I once again I will say keep doing what you love to do and keep inspiring and motivating people, whoever is around you. So that's really great share. Last but not least, why do you feel the platform or the channel like this Women Dialogue is important?
Well, we've spoken about, you know, how for me to bring it back to media, how media is a very male dominated environment. So I think what you said was right. You know, us empowering women to move up the ranks, because the more women we've got in senior positions will allow for change to happen through the industry. It won't happen while we've got, you know, males in, because they're not going to understand all the requirements of what we need to do. So I think these platforms allow us to be able to have our voices heard, and unity in numbers. The more women that go out there and empower themselves and go through the ranks and get to top senior positions, allow women to come through, and eventually will allow for gender equality, I believe. I think.
Right. Yeah, that's so true. Because as I always believe, we need to create voice for ourselves. And same time not for ourselves, but same time leaving the impact and the positive impact for others, and becoming a change maker. Because as you shared with your experience, that they are not going to understand, but they will understand if we are first. We should learn ourselves to speak about ourselves, isn't it? So that uh, thank you. First of all, thank you for sharing that. That's a really true thing which you mentioned, like how, what kind of challenges, what kind of struggle, as a female they have, but how we can overcome, what kind of changes we can bring, how we can bring the environment which is genuine and fair in whether it is leadership or whether it is a media, or maybe any other industry. So once again, so important whatever you said, and I really admire that you shared with us on this platform. So thank you, Shaheen, for sharing, for speaking out loud about yourself and about for others, to be a change, to make a change. So thank you.
No, thank you, Dr. Shashi. It was such a pleasure to speak to you today. Thank you.
So once again, thanks to all my viewers and audience who are listening and watching us and being a part of this change, being a part of this mission. Let's keep going on. And if you would like to get connected with us, please reach out to us. We are available all on the social media. And same time, if you would like to reach out to the Shaheen and would like to see or get connect with her for her work or your work or any kind of connection if you are looking for, please find the details about Shaheen in the description as well. And for this note, I will take a goodbye to you. Until then, take care. Bye-bye.